Hello everyone, I'm Jacob E. Miles, licensed associate real estate broker at Brown Harris Stevens here in New York City. And actually, we're here at a commercial listing, my friend's listing actually, Alexander First with Handler Real Estate at 9 East 53rd Street on the 3rd floor. It's right now available for lease for a commercial tenant, maybe a company size of employees of 10 to 20 or so, and it's available on the market right now. And in this interview, I'm here with Wade Trefethen, the founder and owner of A Sign of Success. What a great name. A sign of success could mean many things. The actual physical sign, which in fact it does, I think, maybe sign language, or symbolically, for success. And so how did you come up with that name, for example,
Thank you for having me, Jacob.
Sure.
I just love sign and success being in the same and being
Yeah.
in the name. I think it's important because I want to create signs so people can be successful.
Right. And we were talking a little bit before, how did you decide to get into this business? So how did the idea originate and how did it grow from there?
Well, it's interesting. I was a commercial property manager in Los Angeles, California, and I had some ground floor tenants that were struggling a little bit in 2008, 2009, and they just didn't have really good signage. It took a lot for someone to come inside their space. And I talked to them about that. I said, you guys should really get some signage. They said, we couldn't afford it. It's a tough time right now, and so I bought a little machine in hopes of helping them create signs. I did that, and charged them very little for it, and from that they got more business. I thought maybe other people could use that service.
Makes sense. Maybe it's almost like a book without a cover, without a cover to describe and encourage and persuade, someone to open it or to come into business. In this case, this analogy, then no one would.
Exactly.
So I guess that's important. And so you can't not spend it. You can't not have it, right? Because then no one comes at all, for example, into a physical space.
Correct.
So what would you say best describes how you're distinguished from your competition or from other people who provide signs? I guess there's FedEx Kinko's or something, probably smaller businesses out there too. How are you different?
I like to think I'm different because I will meet the client at their location, walk through the space, maybe give them ideas they hadn't thought of. When you're going to like a store like a Kinko's or like a FedEx, you go there, you decide, you upload the file, the image, you create the file. They're just there to print it for you.
Right.
And they hand it to you, and they're not concerned with where it's going in your space, what it looks like, who's going to see it. And so you have to figure that out. But you're a chef. It's not what you do.
Right.
That's where I come in. I meet you, I talk about, do you have pedestrians walking by? Do you have cars going by? How do we capture that audience?
So you can help determine the strategy behind the signs, behind the signs usage and design, whereas FedEx, Kinko's, or some of these other places might just execute and not care. You're a number when you walk through the store, but you provide the full solution, I think, when you do this. In these times of COVID, I imagine there's a different need for signs right now, health-related, I guess, for employees or even customers, clients coming into a space. How has your business changed this year?
Yeah, for sure. When it's been a struggle getting customers in your doors, but when they're inside, you want them to know that you're thinking about their health. You want them to know that you're expecting them to social distance, wear a mask to protect the other customers that are there and the employees. So there's been a lot more of that, but we're also looking at the signage that we've created for them in the past and making sure it still makes sense to capture the audience that they currently have.
Okay, makes sense. So for this particular beautiful office space at 9 East 53rd Street, I mentioned it's a listing available through Alexander First, so commercial space available for lease right now between 5th and Madison Avenues. What specific signage would you recommend? And assume it's maybe a small consultancy that comes into this space. Maybe 10 to 20 employees, so some people work from home, they have laptops, there's Wi-Fi, maybe, it's kind of people work around the whole space, the whole floor here of the building. What signs might they need?
So, currently it's mostly employees that would be in this space. They wouldn't have a lot of clients coming in necessarily. That would be mostly handled probably through video conferencing. So you want to make sure to remind your employees of the spacing that they need to be doing and what spaces are off limits and they can go to. So that's a lot of like floor decals or maybe posters on the wall. When clients start coming back, you want to consider from the front door, making sure that they're guided nicely up to the floor, whether that's at the front door, in the elevator. But once they come in, you want to put a big, impactful logo so they know they're in the right spot.
That makes sense, sure. Can you share a story about a commercial or retail client who at the beginning was maybe reluctant or didn't understand that they should get this sign, this cover on the book, so to speak, and then in the end they were pleasantly surprised and they, completely you decided to invest in more and more signs than you thought would have been possible from the first meeting that you had with them.
Yeah, I think it happens a lot. I mean, companies, again, they don't know what to expect, and it's not their expertise in the sign world. So I had a retail or office space like this that had gotten a small little sign from me. I'll do any size order. And literally, I put it up, they came and looked at it, and they said, can we see you? Can you meet with our office manager? And I went to them and I said, all right, we just wanted to make sure you knew what you were doing, and the sign looked great, and it was exactly what we expected. So here's a full order for things that we need in our space. And so we outfitted them with all kinds of additional signage.
Great story, yeah, and what a wonderful surprise, I guess, for you too, and for them, I imagine too. So, how is your industry evolving? Not just this year because of COVID, but in general, how is it evolving? Maybe a push toward more technology, or and what do you see as the future for your business and for your clients in terms of signs?
I mean, what's great is that there's people all the time out there creating new visual items for retail spaces, for ground floor spaces. I'm working with a company now that does sort of projection hologram type images. So, I mean, when you're walking down the street, you're going to look at that. You're going to look at this floating tennis shoe or this floating.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular.
It has to be at night, I guess, only, not during the day.
Correct.
So,
Correct,
amazing.
but it's so eye-catching. I mean, it's just like, what is happening? It's just so
That's
cool.
not a projection on the sidewalk, like it's actually floating
Correct.
projection.
It would
a
appear
3D.
that it's floating in this window.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's certainly one way.
And so we're looking for that kind of technology all the time to help our clients.
And I can imagine even today versus 10 years ago, or whatever, versus the past, you have different kinds of machines, maybe bigger machines or something, or maybe in smaller machines, I don't know, more efficient machines, but how has that changed? What's your latest machine that you bought, for example?
My latest machine, I have a laser cutter, and
Wow.
so that is just providing just a whole different visual for my clients. I'm making actually a sign for a stationery company, and it's going to be a 3D relief kind of sign.
Yeah.
That is just going to be it's just a prettier sign.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then with lighting, for example, from up above, you can see shadows and you can see the relief, really well. That makes a lot of sense. Great. Beautiful, exciting. That's great. Well, any final comments or advice to share, perhaps even for a tenant like this coming into this space?
I mean, I think the biggest advice that I could give, whether they're looking for me to help them or any other company, is to reach out to sign companies that want to come in and help you figure out your space. Usually it's a free consultation. You can learn what they learn. You're an accounting firm. You don't necessarily understand what it takes to get someone to come in off the street into your space.
Right.
So use their knowledge to really get the most amount of clients you can get into your space.
Wade Trefethen, the owner and founder of A Sign of Success. We really appreciate your time and sharing more about your expertise, educating us and our audience. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Jacob E. Miles, licensed associate real estate broker with Brown Harris Stevens, and we're here at 9 East 53rd Street at my friend Alex First's listing. It's a commercial listing for a beautiful space here on the 3rd floor, available for rent now for a commercial tenant. And this is the Jacob E. Miles YouTube channel. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you and goodbye.